institute a number of changes, but for the black community, change is not enough in Ferguson. These and other stories coming ahead this half hour. I am Mamadou Njai. As part of activities marking the 21st anniversary of the July 22nd Revolution, Her Excellency Dr. Aja Aissatou Njie Seydi, the Vice President and Minister of Women's Affairs, on Saturday laid the foundation stone for the construction of the Sotuma Sireh Gambisara Road. The event was graced by Cabinet Ministers, the Governor of URR, Omar Sompo Sise, as the host, the National Assembly member for Jimar, and other local dignitaries. Louis Mendy has more on the $155 million investment with the potential to improve life and livelihood.
A triumphal entry as the Vice President and Minister of Women's Affairs Saturday afternoon arrived Gambisara to lay the foundation stone for the construction of the Sotuma Sireh Gambisara Road. The milestone was part of the celebrations marking the 21st anniversary of the 22nd July Revolution. Take a listen to President Jammeh's message read by the Vice President as he presided over the ceremony.
We are here today to join the people, of course, of Sotuma Sireh as well as Gambisara and surrounding villages for a very historic occasion, which is the laying of the foundation stone for the construction of the Sotuma Sireh project, which is dear to my heart and to my government. And it's a manifestation, once again, of my commitment to develop all parts of the Gambia, irrespective, towards a city-state, and of course towards Agenda 2025. As I had promised Gambians, and Vision 2020 among others.
The Sotuma Sireh Gambisara Road is 6.2 kilometers long. When completed, it is expected to measure 10 meters wide and 1.5 meters width, soldiering on each side. It is an important road linking many rural settlements, and therefore improving access is a necessity.
The construction of this road is a very important one indeed, and it's a promise that I made to the Gambian people, particularly to these villages around Gambisara here. And alhamdulillah, this promise, like many others, is being fulfilled. Therefore, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the people of URR, and notably Gambisara, and of course Sotuma Sireh and surrounding villages, have been supportive of my government since 1994. And I want to recognize that, and I want to appreciate that.
Arinsky is a contracting firm for the $155 million investment.
The pavement will be of hot asphalt, concrete of 4 centimeters thick, to improve the readability of the road. There will be also open riprap drainage on either side of the main culvert to improve drainage during heavy downpours.
Praising President Jammeh for the foresight, especially in the area of infrastructure, and his humanitarian gesture seen recently in the forgiveness of inmates, Balagaba Jahumpa, the Works Minister, said President Jammeh is God sent to transform the Gambia.
During the month of Ramadan, Your Excellency His Excellency the President of the Republic of the Gambia received from the Food and Agricultural Organization of the AAU the award for cutting malnutrition and hunger in this country by 5%. He also received an award, a continental award, an AU award for providing 80% of Gambians with clean drinking water. It was also during the month of Ramadan that His Excellency distributed fertilizers to the Gambian farmers, mainly to the women farmers, who are one of the greatest vanguards of the July 22nd Revolution. He also distributed, during the month of Ramadan, sugar to the Muslim Ummah. Also during the month of Ramadan, he released the first batch of 85 prisoners, and thereafter he released more than 300 prisoners.
Speaking earlier, Omar Sompo Sise of URR, Honorable Abibulai of Jimara, and other speakers registered appreciation on behalf of their people to President Jammeh for the road project.
Gambisara is one of the most densely populated settlements in the Upper River region. The occupants are Sarahules, most of them mega businessmen and commercial farmers. Another reason why the construction of the Sotumasere-Gambisara highway is extremely important for economic prosperity. From Gambisara, Louis Mendy reporting for GRTS.
Well, farming activities around the country are intensifying. The community of Dobong on Saturday began clearing weeds at President Jammeh's farm. As we hear in this report, there is no let-up as far as farming is concerned. In spirit of oneness and with a high sense of commitment, the Gambia Ports Authority alongside youths of Dobong village recently descended on President Jammeh's groundnut field in Dobong, a move regarded as their contribution to Vision 2016 and the Gambian leaders back to the land call. Speaking on behalf of the village head, Alassana Jiba maintained that he has been working on His Excellency's farm for quite a while, adding that people should heed to the President's back to the land call, which he described as a good initiative. For Faringba, a dock worker, whatever the President gets from his firms are always plowed back to Gambians, and therefore added that no one should neglect the President's agricultural endeavors. Others, including the chairman of the Dobong Youths Association, Suleiman Pakoli, also harped on the day's engagement.
For this farm, as long as the youths are concerned under my leadership, we'll be participating fully because we've already have a fixed date for this farm. Every Friday, the youths always participate in this farm. It's a special day for the farm. Every Friday, we do come to this farm to assist in the job. Then when the GPA guys comes to the farm also, we assist, that is during the weekend.
One sure way of achieving Vision 2016 and food self-sufficiency at large is perhaps through greater participation, and farm coordinator Yusuf Acham henceforth stated that belts are tightened to embrace President Jammeh's farming engagements. As Vision 2016 is right at the corner, the Gambia Ports Authority's Deputy Director of Human Resources, Karamo Bakari Jani, reiterated the significance of agriculture, which can be practiced alongside office work.
This is what the presidents have been saying all along. Back to the land. Grow what we eat and eat what we grow. And you know that Vision 2016 is just at the corner. And 2016 is a critical year for this country. And we should try to make that happen. That is why we also want to support the vision to work at this farm. We've been working at this farm for the past 5 years. For the farm particularly belongs to the president. It's just GPA's participation, support to back to the land call. And this is what President Jammeh said all institutions should do. This is our quota.
Jani, having argued that everyone needs a small land for agricultural activities, called on Gambians to rally around President Jammeh's agricultural initiatives, including the back to the land call.
Nobody should sit in the office for 365 days. Even if it's going to be a backyard garden, in your house, in your compound, try and do some form of agriculture. Is it a massive land, an orchard, or a small garden where you can grow your vegetables? Every Gambian is a farmer. And we have to try and support this farming. It's a reality. You cannot compromise that for anything. It's our life. So everybody must support it. Because the president supports it, ministers support it. What about us? If you support the president and you support the ministers, whatever they advocate, you also support that.
To achieve the goal of Vision 2016 food self-sufficiency, Dobong youths with the Gambia Ports Authority members descended at President Jammeh's groundnut field in Dobong to contribute their quota to the realization of the latest vision set forth by His Excellency Sheikh Professor Dr. Alhaji Yahya AJJ Jammeh Babili Mansa, assuring Gambians of their resolve to effectively partake in the fight against food insecurity. While others are clearing weeds, others are planting. Let's take a look at this report by Modu Bajan on the Batakunku farm.
A key figure in President Jammeh's agricultural engagements, Major Siri Balde, who was with the Combo South and other volunteers at the Batakunku farm, dilated on the day's engagement which witnessed extra land clearing and planting activities.
We are calling for food self-sufficiency, and then rice is number one. For the Gambia here, rice, we produce it. So that is why we are venturing into mega production of rice. and that we are expanding. Every year you see, every time you go, His Excellency the President, Sir Professor Alhaji Dr. AJJ Jammeh, is expanding his fields.
Volunteers, among them Jomkin Sadam Funana 43, her Kanyaleng name, and Sanyang Ward Councillor Aidan Dur, while dwelling on the essence of answering to President Jammeh's Back to the Land call and his food security initiatives, also thanked the inhabitants of Kombo South and satellite settlements for their befitting response to the day's activity. In this part of the farm where the local Jola farm implement Kajandak was highly utilized, group members Abdul Wahab Koli and Seydou Sonko delved on the importance of participating in President Jammeh's Green Revolution.
Okay, Seydou Sonko, can you please tell us the motivation behind your group's participation as volunteers in the work of His Excellency President Jammeh's farm here at Batukunku?
Yeah. The motivation behind here is a very simple one. We don't see this as helping the president, but we see it as helping ourselves, because ever since we've seen people working on the president's farm, but we never see the president eating those proceeds. So the proceeds are themselves going back to the people. So this is a self-motivating issue.
Machines were employed, but the bulk of the planting was artistically carried out by women, energized by their rhythmic songs. Many among them, including mobilizer Mbaya Demba, maintains that they will forever be behind the Gambian leader, as he has over the years been uplifting the status of Gambian women. Rice is so important, and we are therefore going to make sure that the president achieves all he wants concerning enough availability of rice for Gambians, added this one. As further highlighted by Overseer Major Sidi Balde, among others, hopes are increasingly high in the general stance of the Gambian leaders' agricultural endeavors, but that is far from the end of story.
This is what we are known of. We till the land, make sure we produce what we eat, and then eat what we produce. In doing so, we have a healthy body and a healthy mind. Name it, we have a lot of varieties that we are putting in these fields, and not only these fields, in whole fields. He said mixed farming, and that is what it takes. You harvest this crop, and then the other one continues.
If we are ready to work, put our hands together, know that it is for ourselves and not for any other person, then actually I believe we can realize Vision 2016. We cannot realize it by folding our hands. We can only realize it by getting up and answer to the call of the president. He is calling us to our own good, not for himself.
It has been recorded time and again that there is more than enough land and other resources to realize a food and rice self-reliant Gambia in particular. But again, as before, farming for a better future is what officials continue to urge all and sundry to partake in, so as to permanently dock the country's food self-sufficiency ship at calmer waters. Modu Bajan, GRTS.
Principals of upper basic schools have recently wrapped up an animated session geared towards achieving set targets. The overall objective is to ensure that everyone is given the opportunity to go to school. Janke Ture reports.
School Improvement Grant for Quality Education was the theme for this year's 25th Annual General Meeting of Principals. The convergence brings together principals from Region 1 to 6 to dilate on issues of common interest.
As regional directors, we look forward to this great day where you come together, share experiences, discuss challenges, and map the way forward for the next academic year. This is our expectation. We expect that you share good practices. We expect that you support each other. We also expect that you work together to implement policies that you should implement at the level of your schools.
As seasoned educationalists, principals play a crucial role in building a concrete foundation of education in the country. And this conference, the director of Region 1 says, will go a long way to improving the management capacities of team.
Like I said, we have expectations, but also it is not challenge-free. And I would like to share those challenges that we are confronted with at the level of regional management, so that you will discuss them in your meeting with a view to working together to address them, because they are only meant to improve the sector. They are also meant for you to look at critically and address positively, because we are sure they will have positive impact on the realization of the education goals.
Education is a key component of any development initiative, and cognizant of this, the government of the Gambia has introduced a system of free education in all upper basic schools across the country, which, according to education officials, will enable each child to access quality and affordable education. Mohammed F. Jabi is the conference chairman of principals of upper basic schools. He explained briefly on this year's convergence.
The theme is SIG for quality education. Not only the money is paid, but there must be quality education in our school system.
He, however, stated that quality education is one of the key issues being targeted by the group.
Again, the Conference for Principals of Upper Basic School, our next target is to advocate for. We don't have the right, we don't have the law, we don't have anything, but at least we can advocate for what we call compulsory education in this country. Immediately from this conference, this Saturday coming, the executive is meeting. We want to press, and in that we'll introduce, we will involve the governors, we will involve the MPs, we'll involve the alcalos, we'll involve, let's say, the women groups, any important group that you can be effective, so that Gambia, few years to come, everybody must go to school.
He finally thanked the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education for providing the avenue to conduct training on education and encourage all the new principals to come on board and attend the training. Other speakers at the conference included Marian Williams, the principal of Abuko Upper Basic School.
We are principals and we deal with both teachers and students at school. And we do it at our own corners because it's from here, from region 1 to 6. So therefore, if we are gathered here today, I'm sure we have different problems, we have different issues will come out, and by the time we leave here tomorrow, I'm sure we'll be able to trash things out, put things on table, work on it, refine it, and then when we go back to our schools, we can surely use it.
This year marked the 25th annual general meeting of principals with the main objectives of bringing together members to share good practices, discuss challenges so as to map a way forward for the transformation of the country's education landscape. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Janke Ture.
Some weeds in the garden are yet to be purged. Find out after the break the metaphorical weeds in Ferguson as the black community come together in Ferguson to remember Michael Brown 1 year after his death. Welcome back. Since he led the country to independence from Malaysia in 1965, he has never missed a national parade. Well, as Singapore celebrates its Golden Jubilee, the legacy of the founding father loomed large in the minds of celebrants. DWTV takes a closer look at how Singapore is triumphantly marching towards a futuristic vision.
Singapore's military was at the center of the celebrations. The island country outspends its much larger neighbors on defense, and pride in the military was on clear display. The ceremony also featured a somber tribute to the country's first Prime Minister, Lee Kuan Yew. He died last March at the age of 91. Lee was criticized by human rights activists for his authoritarian leadership, but many in Singapore still credit him with the country's successful transformation into a modern economy.
In the past, our founding Prime Minister attended every National Day parade since we achieved independence. His absence today is sorely felt by all Singaporeans.
Many in Singapore are growing frustrated with the rising cost of living and restrictions on the media and civil liberties. But those frustrations were hidden from view during the celebrations. All that was visible was pride in Singapore's achievements.
Despite what appears to be cosmetic changes within the ranks of the police in Ferguson following the shooting of an unarmed black teenager, activists say the authorities need to do more to ensure equity in the city. As we hear in this report by CNN's Sarah Sidner, certain weeds in the garden should be purged to ensure justice.
The scars of protesters' fury wiped clean, waiting for progress. This is Ferguson, 1 year after white police officer Darren Wilson shot and killed unarmed black teenager Michael Brown, unleashing months of protest. Though Wilson was not indicted by a grand jury and he was cleared of civil rights violations by the federal government, Brown's life became a symbol for something more, that black lives are too often treated as dispensable in American society.
Regardless of if you saw what happened or not, it was the blatant disrespect that people feel because they left his body here for 4.5 hours. And so that is really what charges people up.
Filmmaker and Ferguson resident Chris Phillips lives in the apartment complex where Brown was killed. So moved by the raw emotions he witnessed, he began recording it, culminating in a documentary.
Has anything changed in the relationship between police and people here, especially in this particular area?
I don't think anything has changed with the relationship because they're still not engaging their citizens.
After a Department of Justice investigation that found Ferguson was disproportionately and excessively ticketing and fining its black citizens to bankroll its budget. The white police chief, city manager, and chief judge, all criticized in that report, have been replaced. The new interim police chief is black, so is the new city manager, and the new municipal judge, as are 2 new city council members.
What's left to protest?
So really, it's kind of like you can use the analogy of weeds in a garden. And for some people, it's just kind of like you can pull all these weeds out, but if you still have one there, then, you know, the weeds can grow back again.
To some protesters, the mayor is that weed that must be removed. They see the interim titles as a temporary smokescreen with no real change in how citizens are treated. But Ferguson resident Blake Ashby disagrees.
We are moving forward. Our city is getting better. That will not happen overnight. You know, destruction is immediate and for the people destroying very gratifying. Change is hard and takes time.
Though Ashby says he is not blind to racial disparities in America.
Statistically, it's hard to say that our society values African-American lives as much as white lives.
He isn't the only one who worries that a small sliver of the new movement could tear the racial divide open even further.
Essentially what they're doing is they're dismissing the efforts of everybody else who doesn't do things exactly the way they do. If we're not out shouting at the cops and threatening to rape their families, then somehow we are not really committed to the cause of social justice.
Back on Canfield Drive, a plaque serves as a reminder of what happened here, trying to make a point that this wasn't just about Brown's death, but the rebirth of a civil rights movement.
With this legacy, I think it has affected the world in a good sense because of the fact that it did make people motivated to speak up, to march, to rally, to fight for change.
Well, 1 year after the death of Michael Brown, drastic changes have been instituted within the ranks of the top cadre of the police. For the first time in the history of Ferguson, blacks have occupied key and influential positions. This is all geared towards healing wounds and dousing flames.
Sergeant Dominica Fuller has a hard job. She works 12-hour shifts from 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening. A lot can happen in Ferguson in that time. A year ago, her white colleague fatally shot the black teenager, Michael Brown.
I wasn't here. I couldn't tell you any details that led up to it, but I can tell you it was a tragedy, and overwhelmingly, it was shocking. Never would I've ever thought that, not here in the city of Ferguson.
The police in Ferguson are trying to win back trust by working closely with residents. This way, they hope to diffuse conflicts in their early stages. Sergeant Fuller is on her way to a single mother whose son fell in with a bad crowd a few months ago. The mother couldn't cope and asked her for help. Since then, Fuller checks in regularly.
That's what I want to hear. That is good. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. Now, what school are we going to?
City Academy.
City Academy. That's a good school. That's a private school, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I need some meat. All right, give me a hug, 'cause I got to go. I got another one.
Her help has paid off. The 9-year-old's grades have improved, and he's found new friends. Sergeant Fuller can't say that all the girls and boys in Ferguson are succeeding. After 17 years in the force, she knows that many grow up in difficult circumstances. No money, no work, and no opportunities.
You know, I look at these kids here in the city of Ferguson, and the ones that I come in contact with is one of my own. You know, I'm going to tell them right for wrong. I'm not going to tell them what they want to hear. You know, I'm going to redirect them in a positive way. It was a shock when it happened.
Just like she treats her own 3 kids. While they're still young, she doesn't allow them to watch the news on television. She doesn't want them to worry about their mom.
People violate. I think I'm more patient. I think I spend a little bit more time on my calls and listening a little bit more. So I'm not quick to write as many tickets as I used to. You know,
less punishment, more help. That's Sergeant Fuller's way of helping prevent another tragedy from happening in Ferguson.
Oh, you saw Patrick? Yeah.
We take our second break now. Stay tuned. Welcome back and over to sports now. Kanifing United Football Club are crowned Serekunda West Super Cup champions after a 1-0 victory over Kautali Football Club played at the Serekunda West Mini Stadium. As we hear in this report, the mouth-watering encounter was watched by scores of football fans and top GFF officials.
Northern League campaigns continue in full swing across Greater Banjul area. And the latest to join the long list of zones to roll out the traditional Kutin Reza is one of the true powerhouses of the seasonal football fiesta, Serekunda West. The big game pits league champions Kanifi United against knockout holders Kautali FC in what was a well-attended game at the West Grounds. The knockout winners Kautali began strongly, forcing their rivals into desperate defending. But things went awfully wrong for the Kautali defense when Kanifi United took the lead in dramatic fashion. Mohamed Sain headed in his own net after coming under pressure from the Kanifi United players. The goal sparked life into Kautali FC, with the knockout holders swiftly putting greater urgency into their game, but were left through a number of opponents. With this showpiece event out of the way, both sides will join the rest of this hugely popular Nawetan zone in what is set to be a very competitive football season. For GRTS Sport Day is Babukar Senghor.
And before we take leave of you, Eric W. Day's main stories. The laying of the foundation stone for the construction of the Sotumasira-Gambisara Road is a step to transitioning to a city-state. Volunteers continue to capitalize on the wet soil to plant seeds in President Jammeh's farms in and around the West Coast region. The legacy of Singapore's founding father lives as the nation comes together to take stock of the achievements as part of its Golden Jubilee anniversary. And trying to repair an irreparable damage 1 year on, authorities have instituted a number of changes following the brutal killing of a black teenager. But for the black community, change is not enough in Ferguson. Well, that was all in this edition of the news at 8. Thanks for the pleasure of your company. Join us at 10 o'clock again for more news.